All right, here we go. What's up, everybody? I'm gonna jump on here. I don't know, honestly, how this is gonna go. Um, I kind of started I got like 2 episodes in of like building an MA show file, and honestly, that particular show file, I think I deleted. I think I went somewhere. So I was trying to figure out how to kind of keep that going, and something that I ran into I've ran into it recently, but I've run into it many times, is how to have like a one page or a one screen um, view, like how to think through it. Um, so I just kind of hit record, and something I'm gonna bring up is just a blank screen. So let me just make sure this is all working. There we go. So we just got the old one pager version 1A. We'll see how this goes. So I just created a new show. So there's literally nothing in the patch. There's nothing in the show. We are on the latest version. Yeah, go ahead, discard and exit that. But I'm gonna kind of think out loud and talk through why I'm making some of the decisions that I'm making, and even just maybe go through some features that maybe you know about, maybe you don't know about. I don't know, but we're just gonna go on a little bit of a journey here, and the goal would be, if you're on a system, let's say it's a command wing, or maybe you have just an on PC node set up with like a Surface or just a single screen. How do you do that, or even like an XT that's just a single screen console? How do you do that? How do you make sure you have everything? Because something that is super frustrating sometimes when you're trying to be fast is you are, you're constantly hitting buttons because you're trying to take up all the screen, because the screen isn't. I've got a huge ultra wide curve screen right now. You may not have that, so you may only have this amount of screen. Um, so we're gonna try to work within some confines, so that makes sense. Um, One thing that I do like that I like and I don't like. So we're just gonna do like a sequence sheet. Um, so if we we can't actually extend it out. Interesting. So if you're ever in a situation where you have, like, you build something in one screen and you go to a smaller resolution, you'll see these, you know, basically slider bars come up, and you can move throughout the screen. And the whole idea is so that you can have more screen real estate, but it is even more annoying to slide up and down and navigate around a surface than just try to hit buttons and put everything on multiple layers. So let's see if I can actually. So if I, yeah, there we. Oh no, it's just a bigger version. Interesting. I was trying to see if those will pop up, but we're just going to go to a one size scale. That should give us a more realistic. So if I do like a dimmer preset, it's still a lot. Still a lot. Okay. So yeah, let's kind of start here actually. So we have. Let me get rid of my face there so you can see everything. Just confirm all that's working. So let's look into configure display. So a couple things that have been added in recent updates is, so you've always kind of had this scale, being able to change width, height, and all that. So yeah, I guess if I do like 25, okay, I see. I'll set that back. Let's say I go to 55. There we go. Now it's giving us the slider. So now we can slide. So we do. Yeah, it's helpful. I mean, it's annoying to me, but it might be helpful to you. But we're gonna set this back to 32, back to our default on this one. So a couple things. So you have show control bar, show view bar. You can get rid of that if you want to. Show command line, which is down here, or you can also hit show playback bar. Just so you are aware, I am operating in display 4, which is going to be your external display. I'm not building this in display 1, 2, or 3 because those are typically internal monitors or monitors that are unique to the console. If you're on like a command wing or something external, you're going to be using these 2 screens. So probably just worth noting there. Back to configure display. Something that was added was this view, the view bar. You can actually add up to 3 view bars. So it's 101, and 201. And you can do that per view, which is super nice. So you can have this default view bar. You can expand it, which is really helpful. Really helpful. I've used it a couple of times. I try to stick to one and have view bars internally or on the screen that kind of, so I use this as my root, and then I'll use a view bar in the actual view that not only references my main root menu or root view, so to speak, but also any sort of sub views that I might want in that particular view. So show feedback, I'm not sure what that is. Show title bar. That's basically if you're on 2, that kind of is like your window display. We're just going to leave that alone. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of show you that that show view bar. Something I did do was delete all the default views, so I have basically a blank view. So just to keep in mind, and I might have to remind myself of this, we are our goal with this whole thing is to ensure, or basically do a one-pager. So we're gonna, I've got a widescreen. We're gonna try to mitigate some of that, but the goal is to have this all on one page, and I'm going to talk through kind of my thought process. So back to the show file. We're going to go in here, and we are just going to, actually, we're not going to do that yet. We're going to build some of our views. One pager is, when I say one pager, I should probably call it a one screener. So one screener, which will be, I'm going to try to keep it to one view, or at least limit my views. But what I'm trying to do is keep everything in one screen as much as I possibly can. That's going to be a challenge. It's going to be pretty difficult. So let's dig into it. Something that we're going to need right off the bat is, I'm not sure why I did that, is going to be basically a fixture selection. So what I like to do, and some of this kind of dates back to my Vista days, is I love to have a some like to have like a fixture sheet, so all my fixtures are right here. I never use that, and some of it is I cut my teeth on Vista, so I'm used to a 2D layout view. So I love to have a layout view. Let's scroll this back a little bit. So I've got my layout view, and then we'll go in here into pools, go into views. This isn't the one that I want. This isn't it at all. But actually what I'm going to do is delete view 1 through. I want to delete that. Because I just don't want any of the default stuff. I want to make all my own views. So views isn't what I want. I want layouts. So, which I thought was in here, but maybe it's in data pools. Layouts. So we're gonna resize these as we go, but I'm gonna need to have a selection, and I'm gonna need to have probably multiple depending on how the size of my show. So we're just gonna go ahead and store that into layout view. I'm gonna call this layout view. And yeah, so we've got our layout view. A couple of things we're going to need to do is like selection here, maybe have multiple options here. Something that I also like to do is either down here or even like on the side is a little weird because you can just expand these views out. is having my views. So layout view, so 1, obviously that's going to be taken up there. What I'm going to do is scroll to, so I've got 10 over here. What I will likely do is scroll to, might scroll to 101. The problem is with that. Let me store this here and then store this here. I'm curious, view 10, yeah, sure, save that there. What I'm curious is if I go in here to configure display. Oh, interesting, it's not there. Okay, interesting. So view 101, and we're just going to label this, I like to label this home, just because I know as I move around this selection, if I hit home, it's going to bring me back to whatever default, honestly, whatever default that I want. You can also move this up here, and that might help. It's just easier for me to have things down here versus up here. Honestly, it's just a distance thing. Because most of the time, particularly if I'm on a console or something, my hands are lower on the screen versus up here. So anyway, just it's a preferential thing. So we got our layouts, we got our selection. Now what we need to do is we've got some space here. So we're just gonna kind of play with that. But selection, layouts. Now we need to be able to apply presets. And there's a couple of things you can do. You have dynamic, so you can certainly do that. What I am going to do, however, configure display, I'm going to turn that off. Give me the space back, because what you can't actually do on this one is apply like a default encoder bar. So what I'm going to do is throw in an encoder bar, which is under tools, I believe. Nope. No, it's not. Under more. Encoder bar. There it is. So what I'm going to do there is store that in home, store that in my layout view. So now I have all of my encoders here. So the idea is like selection, application of whatever it is that I need to apply. So let's actually, I don't know why it's doing that. It's weird. So presets, a couple things you can do. You can do individual. So depending on your rig, you might have like dimmer, position, gobo, beam. You might want all of that. Now, what we're trying to do with a one-pager is we might want to go with this dynamic. And what dynamic does is whatever you have selected, you can see it changing up here. So dimmer, position, color, it will load whatever attribute you have selected down here in the encoder bar. So I think in our instance of what I'm trying to do is I think I'm going to go with the dynamic preset pool. And something that I'm doing with spacing this out is what you want to make sure you get right is your horizontal line, because as you can see, that's going to change numbers, but you can add to that as much as you want in the vertical. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. So yeah, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then 1, and then I've got 9 basically presets. So this for me is ideal. If you really wanted to, you could go, and so that way you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but then you actually have 10 presets right here. It does make the numbers kind of weird. So this, gets you 10. But sometimes you might want to do like a group here or like some sort of a labeling here if you want, and then that gives you 9. Sometimes that 9 is fine. You don't necessarily need to have 10 to be granular. And what I mean by like having 10 is I might have under dimmer, I might have this be 0. So I might say this is like my spot dimmer, my wash dimmer, my whatever. Um, you may not want that, right? You may be okay with, and then anyway, so this is an identifier, and then 11 will be like off, and then increments of 10. But if you only have 9, it leaves you at 90% at 9. But also it's like 10%, 20%, 30%, and it lines up real nice with everything. So, so 10 would be like 0, 10%, 20%, 30%. So it does line up, but it does make that 9 is full, is, so 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. But you would want to make that 100, or you'd want to make that full. So yes, I guess 1, 2, 3, this would be 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So somewhere in here, you would need to kind of make up that difference. Whereas here you have a little bit more of a granular. But you can also expand it out and have it out. It's preferential. What I'm getting at is you just need to think about it. That's really the gist of it, is thinking about this, because if you expand this out later, it's not hard, but it's just kind of annoying to have to rearrange everything. Additionally, because this is a dynamic preset pool, you kind of need to fit like, okay, what are my colors going to be? What are my positions going to be? Where are my gobos going to fall? All my dimmers, like, so you kind of need to think through all of that as your dimmer, because dynamically it's going to change. So it's got to fit all of your presets for all of your attributes. Just put some thought into it. That's really all I'm saying. So yeah, I think what we're going to do is we're going to put that there, store. So now that we have our selection, and we have some options that we can kind of look at with our selection view. And then we have our dynamic preset pool. Also in the vertical, like, doesn't really matter, because most of the time you're not going to have this many dimmers. This is really, the size of this is really for color presets, so I can have multiple shades, and the amount of shades that you want, or the amount of saturation, will determine how much you want. In our case, I'm like, I don't really want so many options for saturation. I'm kind of okay with only having, typically you can do white up here, just because it's like, it's eating up this, so white makes sense to be up here, and then have your saturated colors, and then I've got basically four shades of desaturation. So anyway, so let's move on to, so we have our selection, we have our options here, and then we have our dynamic presets. Another thing that we're going to add, and this might be something that would be great to add in our space right here, is we're going to add a group pool, which is in data pools, groups. We're going to shrink that down. And then we don't actually need, depending on your rig, we don't actually need a bunch of groups, but it's kind of seasoned to taste. So we're going to stick with 10 groups because our rig for this isn't going to be super large. And that will allow you to just instead of like selecting everything, it kind of gives you quick, actions here to grab things. The other thing that I would want to add here is going to be MA3, something that's been super helpful in not only in your selection, but also in manipulating that selection for phasers. MA3, probably not going to need that many, probably only need 10. And then one other one is going to be probably macros. Let's drop macros there. We might mess with the order a little bit. We're going to store this in our home, store this in our layout view. Hit OK. Awesome. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. So we have our layouts, our group selection, MA3 macros. So one thing that this doesn't have is going to be any sort of like all presets for phasers. Something that I'm going to add here is in presets, I'm going to actually add an all preset for phasers. We're going to give this a shot. And I think we're going to roll with that. So let's give this a go. Something that I do love about MA is you kind of are able to, I'm going to try not to add anything over here, but anyway, you can kind of add things and then add your stuff, and then it's super easy to go back and change it and mess with it and things like that. So let's go ahead and just go into our patch. And let's say we have some, let's just patch some Maverick Force S spots. And something that I'm not going to talk about that. The only thing I was going to talk about is like sometimes I'll almost always go with the lower, always check the manual, 22 channel, 29 channel. Sometimes MA adds virtual channels, so it kind of makes the need for fine channels a little irrelevant, but sometimes you do. So it's just something to check. But I will almost always go with the lower channel count, or like just a standard profile. We're gonna go with 22 channel. Actually, you know what? Let's go with the 29 channel. We're gonna hit select. I like to change the name. Quantity, give us 12 of these. Fixture ID, we're going to go with 201. We're going to leave the patch alone because this is just all in hypothetical world. Something here as well. So we're going to do a new fixture, and we're going to grab some R2X wash, and we're gonna rock those in 15 channel mode. We're not doing too much with these. Let's actually look at these. Let's look at them. 15 channel setup. There's not much information. Interesting. That's a little disappointing. Got it. MS got it. 23 channel, 17. Let's just roll with 15 channel mode for right now. Select R2X wash. Again, we're going to give us 12 of these. Start these at 301. Please create. So something that I do like to do, we're going to do a new fixture. We're going to type in generic, or actually we're just going to type in group in the library. Grouping, give me 2 of them, please. And we'll change the fixture ID here in a minute. So we're going to change this to 200, and we're going to change this to 300, and we're going to change this to spots, and we're going to change this to washes. And we're going to open these up, grab our Force S spots, cut, paste. Yeah, that's fine. And then R2X wash, cut, paste. Nice. So that just keeps our patch nice and clean. And we're going to go ahead and save and exit. So what we did is, so if we were going to go in here to comment, we're going to go in here to fixture sheet, you're going to see spots and washes pop up here. So Force S spots. So we can go ahead and select these, and I'm going to go ahead and store. Or actually, that's something different that it always trips me up. So on 2, you have to store because you're storing information into a layout, whereas in 3 it's actually assign. So it messes me up a little bit. Something that I like to do with my layout views is I like to change it to red, hit OK, and I like to do lines. And the reason why I like to do that, and we're going to go to save, and we're just going to hit save on that. Layout view settings. Default. Save. Great. Store. And then we're actually going to label this spots. Reason why, let's see, did I save this all on? Yeah, I did. Reason why is because when we go into our selection grid, you can see they're squares. So when I go in here to setup, which it's interesting that it didn't keep that. Store that. Interesting. So when I go in here to do my, so let's say we've got a row of 6. So 201, 202, 203, 204, right there. And then we're going to do 207, 208, 209. This is just another thing. I like to lay out setup. So, you know, in the Western world, we read top to bottom, left to right, right? Well, that's kind of what I like to follow from a page when I'm looking down. So my fixture that is like 201 is going to be, when I'm looking at it, it's going to be on the upstage right side, typically. Because I like when my top-down view, when I'm like doing paperwork or whatever, I like to do top to bottom, left to right. So preferential thing, do however you want to do it. But we got our spots. Let me just see if that, there we go. Okay, good. And now we're going to do our washes. So fixture, oops, you see the Encoder Bar being up there. Fixture 201 301 through 312, please. And we're going to do assign here. And then we're going to label that washes. So same kind of deal, setup. We're going to grab, so the reason why I do a space in between, some of it is just to give myself some space on the selection, just in case I need to, grab in between or whatever, just to give myself some space. That's the only reason for that. You can butt them up right next to each other. You can do 3 spaces, however it is that you want. There's really no right or wrong way to do that. So the other thing too is so you have this fit type, elements, or canvas. So when you hit setup, you're going to see this canvas that kind of has an outline there. Or you can do fit both, which is basically be the same thing as this. I like to just do fit both and then zoom in to what fits and what makes sense, and then I'll store that. So there's not really much in the way of things aren't moving around too much. The other thing that you might want to do, so you have spots and washes, is you might want to just make an all, so they're all kind of together. We're going to go back into our fixture sheet over here, and we're going to grab basically all of our fixtures. I'm going to do assign. Actually, I wonder if I can do assign here. Yeah, nice. There it is. So in this case, we're going to go into setup. So let's just run a hypothetical. The force spots each have a R2 betwixt them. So we're going to kind of line them up this way. Try to keep some space for that one. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm just kind of roughing it in right now. 1, 2. Feel free to fast forward through this part. I don't know why it's doing that. It's just not. Oh, that's interesting. Wasn't zoomed in enough. Nice. Great. So we're going to add these in. Now, another thing that you can do just to make your selection a little bit easier is you can actually offset these. So if I wanted to just select the washes, I could just do a lasso up top or a lasso on the bottom if I want the spots. So it's just a little life hack for you. I think that's what I'm going to do here. So the reason why this is important, oh, I didn't put, shoot. Dang it, Matt. 206, 207, 208. So the reason why this is important is because of your selection options. So you've got a couple of selection options. One is linear and one is 2D grid. So it's a weird design. I should have doubled up in the middle. Whatever. This is hypothetical. So let's go ahead and label this all. And something you could do also is like, I want to move my all to the beginning, and then I have my spots and washes. So when we open up our selection grid, which I'm just going to open up over here. So when we do, so you'll see like linearize, and I select, you'll see there just 201, 207. So it's going to basically do here, 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 all the way down. Now you can also do 206 and then 207, and you're going to see it like lines that up. Or what we might want to do is do a 2D grid. When we select, we can see over here it gives us. Let's go ahead and clear the programmer. When we select, it's going to give us that selection in basically in 2D space. So let's go ahead and clear that. I wonder why this blue dot is doing what it's doing. Yeah. Oh, 0, 0. That's what I want. Great. So boom, there it is. So now when we go to all, so I didn't update that. Let's go ahead and clear programmer, store this. So now when I do my all under 2D grid, it's going to lay that out. And this is super helpful when you're trying to do symmetrical effects, phasers, just in your general selection. This is super helpful getting this all sorted out. So we're going to go ahead and delete that. Now what we got is we've got a pretty good start here. So we've got our selection. A couple things we're going to do is we're going to do a spots view, and we're going to do a 2D selection of our force S's. And we're going to store this as spots. And I just call this spots sim or symmetrical, which means anything that I do is going to be a symmetrical effect across what I select. So that's why I do that. Same deal. I make sure my selection mode is in 2D. Select, store, group, wash, sim. And then we're going to go into all. Same deal. Now, just so you're aware, like, oh, interesting, it's like popping up. selection grid, so just confirming that that is actually doing what it's doing. Store, and we're going to do an all sim. So just some down and dirty groups here: spot sim, wash sim, all sim. And then what we also can do is we can go back through, and let's say we want to do a linear this way and then this way. Store, label, spot linear. So we're just going to kind of leave that alone. You can add that if you want. We're going to try to move a little bit along here. A couple things we can do in our MA3 that we can add is going to be, so let's actually open up MA3, which is probably opening up on some other screen if I had to guess. Nope. It's weird. It's so weird. It's not opening up on 5. The hunt for MA3. I'm not sure. We're going to go ahead and close this. We're going to open up MA3 here. So what I like to do, I just turn off and I just only use X for most of what I need. We're going to do a 0 through 360. Which is going to be, I'm not sure which direction it is. And then we're going to do a 360 through 0. We can always change the labels later. And then we can do, we can add wings in. So we can do a, I think would be wings that way. Well, let's actually just load this one. Same deal, wings of 2. Store, label. Should be that way. And then we can do we can go ahead and just do a shuffle, turn wings off, and just do and just label this random. Great. So we have some MA3 in here. Macro that I would recommend having, and I'm just going to make one that's just clear. Edit, and we're just going to call this one clear. It's just good to have. So when you're trying to, you select something, you're trying to clear the programmer. So instead of, particularly if you're, you don't have to click because we're trying to eliminate clicks, right? The other thing that I like to add is a, basically a forward. Oops. Yep, fine. Just add this. And a reverse. Nice. So we got a clear, we got a forward, reverse. That's super helpful when you're actually programming and you're trying to move through stuff without timing. We got our MA3, which is all good there. Boom, boom, boom. Something that we might want to add actually to this wings is do a transform mirror. And so let me actually store this and label this as position. So we'll just label that position mirror for right now. Go and clear. Awesome. And then, yeah, I think we're in a good position. So something that we want to do, let's look at color. So we're going to do 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a 10 by 5. So we're going to, oops, not that. we're going to go in here to, I believe it is Show Creator, create groups, or no, sorry, create presets. And so you have dimmer and color. We're going to go here to color. And I believe the hue is your left to right, and your saturation is up to down. So our hue is set to 10, and we're going to set this to 5, please. And we actually want this to start on, I believe, on 10. So where we want this to start, sort by saturation, sort by hue. Create color. Boom. Give me that. So we're going to go ahead and clear this out. So there are my, nope, I didn't do that right. I want to do by saturation. Delete preset 4.1 through. Let's go back to Show Creator. Create presets, go into color, and we're going to sort that by saturation. Create color. There it is. But, rookie mistake, let's go ahead and, can I clear that? No, I got to go and delete it. Gosh dang it. Delete preset 4.1 through. I didn't select. So back to color, back to saturation. Start it. Nope. Start it. 10. There it is. Boom. Close that. All right, great. So now we have our saturation, which we have white, which you're going to want a balanced white. And then we'll have some other like white presets up here. But you have your universal color presets. So what's helpful with that is when we take this to full and we hit red, they're going to be red. Same with all, right? Take this to full. We've got all of our saturation. What I don't like, though, is it's interesting. It put 10 there, and it's putting my indigo here, but it's putting my magenta down here. So maybe I want to start at 9. Let's go ahead and delete preset 4.1 through again. So yeah, I wonder why. That might be something. Yeah, I don't like that. So don't start at white. Just give me. So we're gonna start at 9. Create color. Hit OK. So now that's where we want it. That's where we want it to be. And then we'll just move this over here, and we are going to label this balanced white. So balanced white. That's going to be everything that we're going to calibrate. We're going to calibrate everything in our show to this to look white and it's going to be stored here. That's why that's why it's balanced white. Anyway, so yeah, so we got red, and we've got all of our saturation, and then we have 4 additional saturated colors and 4 desaturated options. So yeah, so let's actually store this. I'm going to do a full. And then, so yeah, so if I do this, hit full, and then we're going to do a store, I'll just call this 0. Is 0 even? Oh, yeah. There it is. Great. Nice. Great. So I wonder if I do, interesting, I wonder if I do, what if I call this at, if it does the same thing? No, it doesn't. What does it tell me? Oh. Yeah, interesting. It doesn't work. Cool. So let's just call this full. Boom, boom. Great. Clear. Now clear selection. Awesome. So now we have our balanced white. We've got our dimmer, we've got our color, and now we can kind of move through and make some other presets. So show creator, we're going to go in here to dimmer, dimmer increment 10. We're actually going to set this down to 9. And we're going to start this again on 10. Create dimmer. 987. Interesting. I want a dimmer. Oh, dimmer increment. Is that probably increment of 10 versus it's not 10 presets? Interesting. Because, yeah, that's definitely, it's just increments of 9 percentage points. Yeah. Okay. I wouldn't have read it that way. So let's go ahead and delete. Nope. Let's go ahead and delete preset 1.1 through. So that's kind of annoying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, I guess we can go ahead and do that. Increments of 10, which 0. Let's actually maybe do increments of 13 maybe, and start that at 10. Okay. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I was worried if it was like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it wouldn't give me full. You know what I'm saying? So I think I'm gonna call that good for now. Or actually, what I'm gonna do? No. We're gonna make this right. Delete preset 1.1 through. We're gonna go back here. We're gonna go into Show Creator. I'm gonna set this to 10. Put this at 9. Create dimmer. Done. Boom. So now we've got 0, and we'll just move 0 to down here. Great. So now we have our 10 increments. We're good there. Something that you can also do that I would recommend is, so we're going to go in here to our all sim. We're just going to select that. And we're going to do in dimmer, we're going to do, oh yeah, that's that extra, the extra channels dim, of course, fine. Anyway, sorry. 0 through 100 through 0. So we're going to do that so you can see how that has, like, off on the outside. And instead of doing 0, we're actually going to do 10 through 100, just so they're on a little bit on the outside. And we're going to store that there. We're actually going to move this up here. And then we're going to do a 100 through 10 through 100. Something that helps me figure out okay, which direction is this? The first number is going to be how bright do I want my outside or my first fixtures in the selection, and then what percentage is the next one. So when you're doing these mirrors, it's like the biggest number is going to be the outside. Maybe that isn't a problem for you, but for me, it's super. I am always fighting that. Same with timing. It's always kind of a fun little challenge for me. So we're going to do this I'm going to call this, or rather, this, and then label this the opposite. And then we can also add and do a 10 through 100. Store that. And then we're going to do a 100 through 10. Store that. Nice. So label that. Label this the opposite. Okay, clear that. So we've already got some good options here, some beam stuff. I believe that is about all there is from a create presets perspective. Is just dimmer and color. So everything else is going to be kind of on us to make. So positions, my suggestion would be just to have, you can have like maybe 16, but I would even say like, so if we do store 1, 2, 3, so we would have a straight, basically an a fan out, and then a fan in, and then let's store one more and do basically an X. So I would recommend having these 4, and then store, and then having a like straight crowd. So basically a crowd. So this would be, we'll label this straight down. So this would be like a down, a crowd, and then an up. Those are going to be kind of your, this is going to be your bread and honey. So it's really 12 kind of core presets that you're going to make. And then anything outside of that is going to be fluff. Like you can have like a star preset, or maybe you want like a fan and you want them to like kind of fan up or do some different things. But these 12 are going to be your core presets that I would recommend you dial these in, and that's going to be where you kind of build everything off of. So a couple things that we're going to build real quick too. So just to give a kind of a recap, we have our selection, right? We also have some selection options here. So our groups, layouts, so we can see a couple different things. We have our MA3. So if I want to apply something that's really for our phasers. We have some macros we can clear. We can do a selection, take it to full, maybe take it to 0, whatever we want to do there. And then we also have we have home. So home's going to kind of change kind of what some of these do. So let's go and update that. And then we have our, so I want to do all my spots. I want to take them to full. And then let's go to color. I want to take them to a, let's do like a blue, and then I actually want to grab my washes. I want to take those to an orange or something, maybe something like that, desaturated orange. And then, and we'll get to presets, position presets, but let's say I want to like put them in a straight crowd, which there's no information there, so it's not going to do anything. That's kind of the route we're sort of taking. So let's go ahead and we're going to make a couple of presets. The other thing that we can do, or excuse me, I was going to say make a couple of phasers, but we're not going to quite go there yet. So we have our home view. Again, still on our layout view. Let's actually make, so like this is home. Let's go ahead and make a playback. So playback view. What we're going to do here is we're going to get rid of our windows on this side. Actually, let me reload that, because what I'm going to do is I want to delete this and I want to put in a sequence sheet. Bring this in. Now we can delete this. I couldn't remember how far over we went. So this is going to be basically whatever sequence we have selected. And what we're going to do with our encoder bar, which something that I didn't do was bring this in here. So we're going to go back. We're going to store our playback view. We're going to go back home. We're going to bring our encoder bar in, store that, and store that here in our layout view as well. So playback view. What we're going to do here with our encoder bar is we're just going to shrink this because we might want it, maybe not, I'm not sure. Basically playback view, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and actually delete. Yeah, we're going to delete that, and we're going to go, something that I try to avoid is like moving all of this stuff, but I don't think we actually need some of this for what we're doing. So we're going to go ahead and delete. we're going to leave our view, right? And we're going to go in here and we're going to go to playbacks. And this is going to give us our playbacks. We're going to go ahead and store this. So that way we can have our, so we already have this selected so we can see. So we can actually see our playbacks. The only thing that I don't love about this, I need to kind of work out, is not having selection. But I think it's okay. I think we'll be okay there. Playback view. Yeah. I think we'll be okay. So that way we can actually see our selection and we can store things. The reason why I don't love it is if we have, so let's say we grab our washes, take those to full, go in here to color, set that to like an orange, grab our spots, set those to full, set that to like, yeah, magenta, something like that. Then when we go to, so playback view, we have to basically type in store or something to that effect. So yeah, I have to work that out. But so we can store this, and then we can hit go there. Now, what I don't know is where this is popping up at. So there is an edit that is popping up somewhere, and I don't know where. So when I go to edit this, it's popping up somewhere, but I don't actually know where it's popping up at. So that's a little frustrating. So we'll have to kind of figure that out. Maybe if I hit it here. So there we go. And then we're going to set this to, it wasn't set to anywhere. Great. So when we go to sequence 2, something that we're going to do is we're going to edit our handle. So we want to make our default, so we want our 300, our second key, to be off, and then we want our top key to be select. Go, that's all fine. And then, yeah, we're going to go ahead and save executor config. Why isn't it giving me that option? Default sequence. Huh, okay, weird. Great. So that's going to be, whenever we store to group 200, it's going to populate this handle in this configuration. So anyway, so we can hit go, we can hit off, and we can also select the fixture, or excuse me, select the sequence in the executor. So a couple things we don't have is, so we have our playback view or whatever. What we don't have is like our sequence view. So that might be something that we just tuck in here, or because it would be nice to be able to, so if we go here and we add a sequence, so pools, sequences, or excuse me, data pools, sequences, bring this in. So that way we can have our sequences here, so we can kind of select them or we can store direct to them, but I don't know if it makes sense for it to be here, or if we pull this back a little bit and, or actually a little bit more, and put that here. That might actually make more sense with what we're wanting to do. Yeah, I'm just kind of missing some space here, so that's why I want to take it down to that, to just 2 rows. I'm going to delete that default. Move this. We'll just label this test sequence. See that it's on. Let's go ahead and store this in our playback view. This way, so the reason why I kind of want this here is because I can now assign this a lot easier and assign my sequences, but I can also like move through this, which can make it pretty easy to navigate. Great. So we have our selection. There's a couple things that we're going to build out and that we would need to build out. That might be in part 2. This is a pretty lengthy boy. But yeah, as you can see, we're still on a single view, right, on the right. But we do have a couple views. So we have our home, and then we have our playback view that has our sequences. We've got our playbacks that we can actually run a show from here if we had to. And then we also have our we can select and see what's actually in that queue stack. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. The dynamic preset pool makes it super easy, and then the show creator makes creating these really nice. A couple things that I would add. So just for so if we do like an all sim selection, and then let's just do let's grab let's go to full, and then we're going to go here, and we're going to go to 0, and then we're actually going to do like a sim effect, so you can see it's going inside out. Phaser steps, transition under dimmer. Let's turn that down. Why is that? Yeah, let's do that. And then also under MA3, actually, I'm going to do that. Yeah, let's do that here. That's interesting. It's not popping up here. That's okay. Speed, we're going to set this to 25. Kind of slow it down a little bit. And then we'll give it a speed master. We'll give it a speed master later. That's a good starting point, and we're going to go ahead and store that. So we're going to label that cosine sim. So that's just a cosine sim dim effect. So we select that. We can go ahead and clear our programmer. Now so if we double click, it's going to do the thing. But what's nice is if we grab our washes, so our wash sim, and we do it, it's going to do it across that, but not across, not across our spots. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I feel pretty good about this so far. We got our dimmers, so we can do like let's go to all sim, kind of do it inside out. But let's say we want to grab our spots and we want to go the opposite direction. Can do something like that. That's pretty cool. Nice. So we have some things to work with, and then we can go into our color. Let's say we want to set those to that. Let's just grab all of our lats and go to a blue or something like that. That's nice. It's good. It's a good starting point. So great. Nice. Well, yeah, I feel pretty good about where the file is right now. I'm going to save this and hopefully keep it, and then we're going to do another long run. This is like an hour-long video. So if you stayed with me, great. I don't know if I'm going to edit this. I think I'm just going to take it direct to air. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. See y'all.